Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Hiiii. Thank you so much for watching. So for today's video, I decided to do something a little different. It's not a tutorial or anything. As you can tell, I already have my makeup done. So yeah, but today I decided to do a video that's kind of been asked a couple of times to me about like what people should buy like when they're first into makeup and like the first like things they should get and stuff like that. And so I thought that was like a really good like question and like you know, things to wonder about like what to have like when you're starting your makeup collection or when you just like don't really know like what to buy and like what to wear and like stuff like that, or like what to have around and stuff. But I just thought that I would do a little tutorial just over things like this. It's things that I know that I use like on a regular basis, like on a daily basis. So I'm just going to kind of walk you through some of the products that I have and like just stuff that I recommend as well to you. I just thought that that'd be really cool to do something like that. So without any further ado, we can just go ahead and jump right into the rest of this video. Okay, I feel like when you're starting your makeup collection, you kind of either tend to buy a bunch of things that you feel like you may need, or you just don't buy anything at all for like months because you just don't know what to buy. And so I know that was kind of the case for me. It worked both ways. There'd be phases where I was just buying a bunch of stuff, but not really knowing like what to do with it or like exactly how to use it and stuff like that. Or there was also times where I wasn't buying anything just because I'd go to the store and like look for a new mascara, or I'd be looking for something and I'd see something else and it would catch my eye, but I was like, I don't want to buy that just because I don't know, I don't want to spend money on it and like it just not work how I want and stuff like that. I will say it's a bunch of trial and error as well. I know that sounds kind of funny to say about makeup, but like it really is. You can buy a product and not really like it at all, but then you could totally even find a different use for it later on, or buy it and then like a couple of months later you reuse it and you're like, I actually really like this, like, and I totally forgot that I liked it. So a couple of things that I have found that have really worked for me and that I think are really good to start off with, like when I first started wearing makeup, not first started wearing makeup, but like when I really started getting into makeup and I was kind of just buying a few products here and there. Some of the things that I started using at first, I started using a few products, you know, just I would add in one product and then I'd add in another one like months later or whatever, you know, so it wasn't just like I started wearing all of this makeup at once. It just kind of started just slowly progressing and building up or whatever. So now I obviously have grown my makeup collection. So I just wanted to go through a list of almost like recommendations and stuff that I use so much that I just thought would be beneficial for you guys. So one of the first things that I found, and I'm gonna kind of go through like a whole face of makeup. Like I found like, you know, blush, like bronzer, all of these things just to recommend to you guys. Like once again, like base, like the basics type of thing. If you do want to get a new bronzer or you want to try bronzer, blush, whatever, like I'm gonna try to name a couple of things for you that you may like. But yeah, so one of the first things that I would recommend is a good eyeshadow palette. This is the Dream Street palette from ColourPop. I love this palette so much. This is the first ColourPop product I've ever bought and I have loved it ever since. But the reason I love this product so much, I've used it in a video before, but because it is so versatile. You can see it's very natural, but yet there are so many like pop of color shades, you know, like the two kind of like teal turquoise-ish colors, and then even like this bright pink, and then there's like some really pretty rose golds and stuff like that, and it's just such a pretty palette to use. So I would recommend something like this. It obviously does not have to be this exact palette, but just something like this, you know, something that has natural colors, but yet if you're wanting to get a little you know, if you want to try something a little new, you can add in a pop of color or something. I just think a palette like this is perfect for that. I also have another palette. So this is the Profusion Neutrals palette. I've used this a couple of times on my channel as well. As you can tell, it just has a bunch of shades. I think there's like 24 shades, 21 shades, something like that. 21 shades, I think. So it's very natural as well. Obviously there's a bunch of naturals, but there's mattes and there's shimmers, and this honestly is for a wide variety of ranges. I feel like for like skin tone and like skin ranges, I feel like this is like a really good palette for that, because some palettes can be too dark for some people, some palettes can be too light for some people, and so it's just good to have a palette like this that is also going to cover the basics as well. And so about these two palettes, I feel like this one is definitely easiest to travel with. That's why I would say if you're just wanting something to like throw in a makeup bag, or like some people I know, they like throw stuff in a makeup bag, they just store all of their makeup in a makeup bag, and you're scared about getting a palette because it might take up too much space or something. I just feel like this is perfect for that. Having a little palette like this, it's not tiny, but it's not huge by any means. Like obviously it's way smaller than this palette, you know, but if you want a palette that can just kind of like sit on your desk or like something like that, if you're like starting to build a little bit of a makeup collection, so you have like a little place to store your makeup and stuff, honestly something like this is perfect as well. I feel like it's not the easiest thing to travel with, but you can definitely do it. You can definitely manage. But yeah, I love both of those palettes. I recommend getting something like that, you know, something that's super neutral, but then also something that is natural, but also has like pop of color and things like that. I just think it's fun to have something like that in case you just want to like explore a little bit more. So the next thing is some mascara. One of my favorite mascaras, I talk about this in so many of my videos. I feel like even the videos I don't use this mascara, I reference this mascara. This is the Essence 18 Hour Volume Stylist Curl and Hold Mascara. This is the pink one. I think I've mentioned before that there's a pink tube and a purple tube. The pink tube is definitely my favorite. It is so good. Such a good mascara, and it's great, and it's so inexpensive. I think it's like $3.99, $4.99, maybe somewhere around there. It's such a good deal. I don't know where they sell this besides Ulta. I feel like a long time ago I used to see Essence at Walmart, and now I don't. I only see them at Ulta. So they may sell it at like Target and stuff. I don't really shop at Target a lot, but they may sell it at like Target or Sephora. I don't really know, but I just know for sure that they sell it at Ulta. But yeah, having a good mascara, I feel like completes a look totally. It can totally change a look, even if you're not like totally happy with the eyeshadow look you have. Honestly, adding mascara can just give it so much. And I know I do a lot of mascara. I add like 2 coats, sometimes even 3 if I'm feeling a little crazy, or if, depending on the look I'm going for. But usually 2 is like even like a daily amount is what I'll do, just because I love mascara and I just love the way it looks, and honestly I like the way it makes me feel. I just love having longer lashes and stuff like that. I mean, I naturally have kind of longer lashes, but just like having mascara to kind of just like accentuate that, like I just love it. Having a good mascara in your collection is definitely going to be something that you're going to be happy with, whether you just barely apply it or you apply it a lot. I feel like that's just going to be something that's really going to take your look to the next level. So the next thing I'll be talking about is a powder. This is the LA Girl Pro Face HD pressed powder. Having a pressed powder is really, really nice. I like it better than a loose setting powder most days. I don't tend to reach for loose setting powders a lot, just because I feel like it feels heavier on my skin, and this particular pressed powder I feel like feels pretty light on my skin, and I don't feel like I have something on, like I don't feel like I have a powder on or whatever. So usually I will just use this to powder the places I put concealer on. I feel like it really sets it in there, which is a setting powder, so it really holds your makeup and it sets it there, so that way it's not gonna really start to crack or crease or anything like that during the day. It's gonna really hold it there. But yes, I really like having a nice powder. The next thing I'll talk about is a bronzer. This is the Wet n Wild Mega Glow Contouring Palette in the shade Dulce de Leche. There is a bronzer and a highlighting powder in this palette. This highlighting powder is too bright for me, so it's a little too light, so it just looks a bit light under my skin tone, with my particular skin tone. So I don't really use the powder unless I'm going to set my eyes. Sometimes I will use that. This is the bronzer. This is a more cool toned powder, which could be even a little more as a contour, which is why it's called a contour palette. But I use it more as a bronzer rather than a contour. But I mean, occasionally I will contour and I'll add it in, you know, make it look a little more defined. But usually I just kind of put it on in a circular motion just to kind of make it look more even, because I'm not necessarily going for like a harsh toned look when it comes to like the bronzer. Okay, next is the highlighter. This is the Wet n Wild Mega Glow Highlighting Powder in the shade Crown of My Canopy. As you can tell, I have used this one a lot. I've had it for quite a while now, but I really, really like it. But yeah, I don't know. It does work really well most days, and I loved it when I bought it. It's actually my very first highlighter that I ever bought, which is really cool. I really like it, and I've used it so much. As you can tell, it's very used. But I really like having a good highlighter just to kind of give yourself that natural glow. You can go as light as you want, you can go as intense as you want, depending on what you want to do, depending on the look you're going for. But yeah, so I really like having a good highlighter. That makes such a difference. So then I will do blush, and this is the Maybelline Fit Me blush in the shade 35 Coral. I love this blush. It is kind of light, but sometimes it's so nice to build this type of color that's a little lighter, because it just gives you such a nice like rosy feel, and it doesn't really come on too harsh, which is nice, because sometimes you just want a very like soft, just kind of like a peachy kind of subtleness, you know. You don't really want a necessarily like intense like blush look. Like today I have a little bit more blush on than usual, but I love blush. I say that in so many of my videos too when I'm using blush. But yeah, so I would recommend something like this, just a light blush. If you do want to go darker, once again, you can do whatever shade you want, but just a blush in your collection that is very versatile, because if you do just want a light layer, it'll go well. But if you do want to deepen it up, this is such an easy blush to kind of build, and so it can look as intense as you want or as light as you want. So next thing I feel like you should have in your collection is definitely a concealer. I have some concealers, but the two that I reach for the most are the e.l.f. HD Lifting Concealer, and this one is in the shade Light. I also have it in the shade Fair, and it is pretty light, so I usually just set my eyes with that. And then the next one is the Revlon Photo Ready Candid Concealer in the shade 55 Chestnut. I really like this one. This one is a little yellow toned, which I actually like. And then this one is a little more light toned, but they both, between the two of them, they look really nice together. They work really well together. And I don't know, I just really like the way they make my skin look, but I feel like it gives it a good enough coverage, because I tend to have really dark under eyes, just like naturally, like it's just something I've inherited. I have really dark under eyes. And so having a good concealer is really going to help with that. I know it helps me personally sometimes to feel like I look more awake and stuff like that, and I feel like it really, on the days I don't wear concealer, sometimes I'm like, oh, I probably should have, but I mean, it's fine regardless. But yeah, so just a good concealer will really help you out as well. So next is an eyebrow pencil. This, if you've been watching my channel for any amount of time, you will know that I have a favorite eyebrow pencil, and this is the Rimmel London Professional Eyebrow Pencil in the shade 002 Hazel. And it is a pencil that you have to actually like sharpen and stuff, but I am such a fan of this eyebrow pencil. It is like my favorite eyebrow pencil ever. I've used multiple things, but I keep coming back to this particular one. But I think having a good eyebrow pencil that that you can just rely on, that is really good, is going to be really beneficial. I've used so many eyebrow pencils, but I just keep coming back to this one because I know it works the best for me particularly. Somebody else may use this and think this is so bad, like I would never use this again, but I don't know, it's a preference thing, but I really like this one just because, once again, I feel like it works the best with me, and it's the easiest for me to work with as well. And I just also feel like it's the best for my skin tone. It's not too like dark, but it's not too light. I feel like I can build it up the way I want. There are some eyebrow products that I use that come off very strong, and it's just really hard to use it and stuff, but I think having a good reliable one that you know is going to work for you is really going to make all of the difference. Finding a good eyebrow product has been, for me personally, it's been a trial and error thing as well. Because I've used quite a bit that are way too dark, or some that I just do not like the formula of. They're too waxy. It's like a pomade feel, and I'm not a fan of, so that's why this one I just feel like is the best. And speaking of eyebrows, I will say it is great to have a spoolie. This is the one from BS Small. It's like a spoolie on one end and then a little brush on the other. As you can tell, it's like a little brush like that. That you can use if you have like a powder that you're wanting to fill in your brows with or anything. I use it sometimes, but the spoolie, I just love using the spoolie. It is a little bent. It actually happened by accident, but I kind of liked it because I felt like it kind of was easier to use at an angle. And so I just kind of left it at an angle. I didn't fix it back straight because I actually really liked the way it looked, so that's why it's a little janky, but it's that way purposely. But yeah, having a spoolie like that just to brush through your brows is really going to help to distribute the product, but it's also going to help to make them look very natural. So I just thought I would throw that in there as well. So next, I will actually talk about this really quickly. This is a palette that has 2 bronzers, 2 blushes, and 2 highlights on it. As you can tell, it's like this. Let me try to cover that mirror so there's no reflection. But yeah, so you can see it's very gently used. I just got it not that long ago and I just started recently using it. But yeah, having like the blushes and bronzers and highlights and stuff, having a good palette like this is something that's also easy to travel with. And if you're not wanting to take like a bunch of things with you, if you don't want to have to pack like a blush and a bronzer and a highlight, having something like this is literally going to change everything, because you'll have all your stuff together, and you even have multiple shades to use. You can use, you know, one of the blushes, both of the blushes, one of the highlights, like whatever. You can mix them, blend them, do whatever you want, and I think it honestly looks really, really good that way. So I think having something like this in your collection is going to be a game changer, especially if you travel a lot. Or you just have a smaller makeup bag that you don't want to have to keep a lot of stuff in. Having something like this is really, really going to help you. And this particular one, I don't know if I said, is from Beauty Gems. I got it at Ulta. I think they're a newer brand, at least. I have never heard of them, and I think it was like $7 or something like that. But for 2 blushes, 2 bronzers, and 2 highlights, I was like, okay, I can't pass that up. And lastly, I thought I would just talk about a lip gloss. This is the LA Colors Cream Lip Gloss. I'm actually wearing it today. But having a natural looking lip gloss is really, really going to help. Whether you add it on top of a color, like a lipstick if you want more of a glossy look, or you don't like a matte, necessarily like a matte look. But adding that on, I think, is something that is really going to help. Or you can wear it by itself like I did today, and I honestly like the way it looks. I think having whatever you want in your collection, but just something that you know you can rely on that's really good, is going to help as well. But yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. I hope this wasn't too random or wasn't too jumbled up or anything, or I didn't miss anything. But yeah, I know it was kind of a lot, and you could easily like take some stuff if you don't want to wear bronzer but you want to use a highlight, or you don't want to use highlight but you want to use blush. Like, you can easily take things from there. You say, I never wear lip products, so I'm not going to worry about the lip products. It's whatever you want. I just thought I would send out a couple of recommendations and a couple of things that I feel are good to have in your kit, especially if you're starting off with. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I am not by any means saying that I am a professional, or that you have to do this, or that I know what I'm doing, so like use these products. That is not what I'm saying at all. This is just something that I have found that works for me, and what works for me may not necessarily work for you, and just like what works for you may not necessarily work for me. But yeah, so I also want you guys to leave any of your favorite products or any of your go-to like / recommendations. Leave them down below. I'd really like to find out what you're interested in, just so that way I can use some of them and maybe just test them out, and who knows, you might see them in a future video. But yeah guys, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day or night when you're watching this, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye guys.